Patchen, could you please go ahead and tell us how did you come to this beautiful idea?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. So the way this book came about, there were really two things that led to this book. One was my day job is to talk to scientists and mathematicians and help them tell stories about their work. That's what I do as a science journalist. And so when I spend a lot of time around people who are working in physics, mathematics, and chemistry and biology, the temperament of the people I meet there is that they are asking questions endlessly. They are curious, they are skeptical about what they hear, and every question they answer leads to a new question. And at the same time, I had a second equally important job, which is I have two kids. And at the time I was thinking about this book, they were 5 years old and 6 years old. And their temperaments were that they were endlessly curious. They were always asking questions, very skeptical. Every question that they had an answer to led to new questions. And it struck me that the temperament between the advanced research scientists and the 5-year-old and the 6-year-old that I was spending all of my time with were very similar. So in one part, this book was an invitation to make scientific curiosity a part of your life, whether you are 5 years old or whether you are an established scientist. I really believe that that is something that is an inherent joy in life. And then with regards to the specific subject matter here, I have seen in so many different aspects of the research that I've done, the interviews I've done, the things I've written about, that this idea of repeated patterns and unexpected connections and keeps coming up over and over again in the most surprising ways. And the shape of things tells you something else about what's going on underneath the surface. And so if you see two things that have a similar pattern that are seemingly unconnected, then it gives you a clue that maybe there is something that connects those things. And so this became the basis for starting for this book, which explores just a few of the many, many patterns that can tell you secrets about why the universe is the way it is and how it works. So that's basically where the book came from. I published it with Owl Kids Book, which is a Canadian book publisher, and I just wanted to acknowledge the illustrator of the book. I wrote the words for the book, but the illustrator, the person who made it such a beautiful book, is a silkscreen artist named Todd Stewart, who I think just did a wonderful job, and I wouldn't want to read without acknowledging Todd and what I do. So if it's okay, I do have a physical copy of the book here, but I'm going to try sharing my screen with an electronic version because I think that will be a little clearer to people who are watching. So now we're going to test the technology. That is the next step. Okay, so if I do this, and then I do this, sorry, just one sec. Let's see. There, now, are you able to see the cover of the book?
We are.
Okay, great. All right. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and I'll do a read of this, but then I'm really looking forward to people's questions and the conversation that follows afterwards. So I will try to get to that as quickly as I can. So the book, Flow, Spin, Grow, Looking for Patterns in Nature. And I need to skip through the title pages. Okay, so I begin with a little poem. Look, climb, dig, flow, breathe in deep, around you go, twirl, whirl, swirl, grow, explore, find more, join the show. So we'll come back to every one of those words later in the book. So the most important thing with patterns, of course, is to look. And when you start looking, you can find patterns almost anywhere. I live in Toronto now, which is a fairly large city, but I grew up in the country. And whether you're looking at a natural environment or a city street, you can find patterns in everywhere you look. Tree trunk splits, its limbs divide, branches split and split again. Under the ground, tree roots also fork and spread. Tiny rootlets seek water and nutrients, just as leafy branches reach for the sunlight. So I love that the trees have a branching pattern above the ground, and in some ways, there's a mirror image of that. It's not quite the same, but it's very similar underneath the ground. It's hidden away. Mountain rain and melting ice form tiny rivulets. Water burbles, tumbling streams combine to form huge rivers. These winding, watery paths look so much like a spreading tree that we call them branches too. Branches also spread through your body. They move air in and out of your lungs and carry blood to and from your heart. Wherever there's flow, there's branching. And I'm just going to stop here and say this is my favorite page in the whole book, both because I think it's a beautiful picture and also because one of the things when you start looking at patterns out in the world, when you're exploring the universe, is you start to recognize that those patterns are in us as well. And that the beauty we see in nature and the built environment, that we're part of the same thing as well. And there's a connectedness there that we can see through those patterns. Nature loves to spin. A tree feels solid, but it's really made up of spinning particles, so small you can't even see them. They have names like protons, photons, neutrons, and electrons. Everything you can see or touch is made out of those same tiny particles. Stones, stars, cars, people, every tiny part of them is spinning, even when they seem perfectly still. The Earth spins too, turning us toward the sun and away again, making day and night. The Earth's gravity swings the moon in huge circles around our spinning planet. The Earth and moon circle the sun. Our whirling sun follows an even bigger curve around the center of our galaxy. Galaxies spin too. When moving objects push and pull one another, they start spinning. Trees and galaxies share another pattern. They both have spirals. You can find spirals in pine cones and pig's tails, in storm clouds, swirling eddies and seashells, in galactic halos, and inside your own ears. Spirals appear where things grow or shrink. Plants and shells spiral out. Storms and galaxies spiral in. Patterns appear again and again, sometimes in the most unexpected places. Try to find out why. There's almost always an amazing explanation. Branches tell you that something is flowing. Moving objects make each other spin. Spirals mean that something is growing or shrinking. And these patterns are just the start. Keep looking. Leopard spots and ladybug dots, ocean waves and mountain peaks, lightning bolts and cracks in the sidewalk. Patterns are everywhere you look, even in the mirror. The same patterns that connect trees to rivers and particles to planets also connect you to all of those things. You look, dig, and explore. You're not just discovering patterns, you're part of the show. That is, in fact, the end of the story.
Thanks, Patchen. Bye. Sophia.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.